Hello, everybody. This is Momas Speaks, and we have our guest, our returning guest, Richard, with Breakthrough Leadership. He is here. We're going to be talking to single moms. I was a single mom for 5 years. I worked. I took 6 buses back and forth to work just to make sure my babies was taken care of. And then I got married. But hold on, let me cut somebody out. So now we're here and we're trying to, I know a lot of people are in need of help in reference to raising boys. Especially in Philadelphia, we had the Walter Wallace situation. I think that could have been helped. I don't know if the mom was single or whatever the situation is, but male intervention is needed. And here we are talking to Richard Price about what's going on and what we can do. I'm gonna let you take the reins. You do a quick background, and then let us know what we should do.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. It's good to be back. I think the platform is very, very important to talk about issues like this. Single women raising boys. So a little bit about my background. I am from Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up in the inner city. My father left fairly early. However, my mom and all of her sisters did a phenomenal job raising me and my male cousins. And it's a job. It's an underrated. Job. When I say by that, women can do an effective job raising boys. I just don't believe that only men can raise boys. Women have been doing a great job from day one. And I think what women need to understand is that you are what you are. You give what you are. And you give through your experiences, but you also give through those good times and bad times. And I think it's the bad times, the painful times is what we offer the most to our children. And I think that dominates the relationship most of the time. And sometimes that's why I can grow cold and distance, because most of the times we spend those who might fall into the class of poverty or low income. There's a lot of tough times. And I think that's what often is what young people see, especially young men. So for the single parents who are raising their male children, kudos to you. You can do it. Don't believe that only a man can raise a kid, because that's not true. Because you're everything. If their father is not around, you are enough. You are absolutely enough. And you probably need help from other women and step in where you might, be weak, but you are enough. So I think it's true. You can definitely raise your male children, and the absence of men or positive men in a young man's life is devastating. It can be devastating, but that's where you step in, because all of your greatness as a female really overshadows what is missing, from their father. And I believe that because my mom and her sisters raised me and my cousins, and they did a good job, and they did the best job that they could do. So I 100% believe that women can raise boys. Don't get that twisted. Okay.
I just want to say this is an opportunity for you guys to ask questions. I'll see it on the comments, and ask questions. He's here for that. So please ask questions.
Yeah. So currently what we have is I work in a high school where I'm doing a lot of intervention with incoming freshmen and sophomore. And oftentimes those young people, boys and girls, they're completely lost. They're in a place right now where they're confused, they're frustrated, and they don't know how to express who they are. And they don't know who they are. They don't know what their skills and talents are. So they're acting out. So I decided during COVID to start my program called Breakthrough Leadership, where I'm teaching young people how to really date themselves. You got to date yourself. I don't care how young you are. Date yourself. Find out who you are. Find out what your skills, talents, and abilities are. Even if you don't know them, you have to begin dating yourself and liking who you are, what you see, and really questioning how you feel. I think that's the first step. And I think the schools do an incredible job, but I don't think that they focus on teaching young people to love who they are,
Yeah.
despite not fitting in. Love who you are, because there's only one you. And if you treat yourself well, you'll learn how to treat other people well. So the portion of the program is focusing on understanding your skills, talents, and abilities. But the big portion of the program is really trusting and believing in your dreams. Trusting and believing in your dreams are extremely important, because those who have dreams will pursue them. They'll be motivated to pursue them. They may not always have a pathway, but the fact that you know that there's something out there with your name on it motivates you to get up to try to figure out what it is. And what that means that these people will come into contact with those who are also pursuing their goals and dreams. And what you have is a natural fellowship, like-minded people coming together, willing to help out. And that's what it's all about. So in this program, I teach young people how to simply take full ownership of their dreams. Each and every week, I'm giving them a session on how to completely take ownership of their dreams, so their moms and dads can stop all the heavy lifting. Because here's the reality, single moms or all parents, you have to stop quarterbacking everything for your children. If you're constantly doing everything for them, you cripple them.
We were just talking about this last night, because my sons, I have 4 sons, and all of them do your program. I mentioned this before in the last one, and you're awesome. And, we're having issues. Well, not issues. We're talking about my oldest son and how maybe I was being too much of a mama bear, and I needed to step back a bit.
Yeah, that's hard. That's the one thing that's very hard for all parents, just to step back, because our love is just strong. It's deep. And you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. So stepping back is the hardest thing to do. And I struggle with that, even with my son that's in his second year of college. But one thing that I have learned is to breathe and step back, because everything that you've invested in them as a young, super young, if you did the right thing, it'll show up when it has to. Because at the end of the day, I can't be at college with him. He's several hours away. I can't be worried about things that he's doing. I know we want to have fun, but do it responsibly. I can't be worried about that stuff. So taking a step back is probably easier said than done, but it's the most difficult thing to do for parents, because we can see around the corner. We can see all the dangers, and we want to say duck. But because we're saying duck, they're going to stick their head out a little bit more and get popped in the head. And the worst thing that we want to see is we don't want to see our kids injured. We don't want to see our kids go through tough times. But the Bible and the Quran talks about not allowing your pain to go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
It's useful.
It is.
Pain is a great lesson.
It is.
It's basic. Little kid put their hand on fire. Oh, that's it. They're never going to do that, because it's just the natural consequences. So our children will have to go through those growing pains. But as parents, we still want to duck for them. And we can't. We got to trust the process. We have to trust the process. There's no such thing as your love for your children. The love that you have for your children, you can't ruin them. What you do is you set them back, because if you are truly doing everything for them, you're basically doing all the lifting. And let's be real, as we get older and wiser, they're going to continue to depend on us to do the basic things that they should be doing for themselves. How are they ever going to grow? How are they ever going to navigate through this thing called life if you're constantly digging up ditches, putting things in the grave hole, and then going back to get them later? They have to do the dirty work. They got to get dirty. And when they need our help, we have to just be ready to help them out. That's it.
Okay. So what about, I'm a hovering crazy stalker mom, going from a crazy hovering stalker mom to a mom that has been a little neglected. How do you, what if this woman acknowledges, okay, I hurt my boy. Maybe I've been a little bit too mentally abusive. Maybe I Maybe I'm angry at his dad. You act just like your dad. You this, you that. You know what? You going to be SHIT just like him. You have that mental, because as Black women, we're mouthy. We are mouthy, and our words cut like machete sometimes. How do we come back from that? Kids are resilient, but how can we fix that?
Well, you're absolutely right. So if someone tells you words don't hurt, they're lying. Words do hurt. Sometimes word is more powerful than a slap in the face, because we can revisit those words every time there's a situation that comes up, and we can hear the powerful voice of those women or men and those women that we look up to. And it's a constant reminder of what they said or what they think about us, especially as young men. So here's what I do know. Oftentimes that type of conversation comes from disappointment. It comes from frustration. It's never really it's not malice to the point where I want to destroy you. Mm-hmm. And as parents, we screw up sometimes, right? We don't always say the right things. I would say the way to come back from that is to understand that you need grace, just like you need grace. Your children need grace. Mm. And if you want to make up for that, or if you want to have a rebuttal moment, you have to demonstrate it. You can't just tell them you're sorry. You have to show it to them. And that's not showing it to them by buying them stuff. It's being with them when they need you. Because remember, kids these days, they're not really interested in what you have to say. They want to see what you have to say. And what I mean by that is it's more powerful for you to show them than to tell them. It's easy for me to say, do your homework, or, make sure you're being respectful to your sisters. But, it's better for me to show that in how I treat the other kids or how I treat my wife.
Yeah.
See, remember, talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. And I know, depending on your age, just think about when you were younger. Mom, dad, whoever, smoking cigarettes and drinking. I better not catch you drinking or smoking. But they're doing it. That's a mixed up message, right?
Yeah, it is very much.
See, these days, these kids are too smart. If you really want to make up for it, you have to demonstrate what you expect. So if you're expecting your son to be a committed person, to speak without toxic language, then you have to do that. Because our actions are more important than anything that we can say to them. They've already taken all the shots that they can take with our verbal. Our tongue is very powerful. It's potent. They've already heard it all. And they already know to some degree that you're frustrated and you probably don't mean it. But after being verbally abused so many times, it don't matter what you say, right? I need for you to show it to me. I need for you to show me that you love me, that you support me. Mm-hmm. So for single parents who are reflecting and thinking like, oh my God, my toxic tongue has damaged my relationship with my son. How do I get that back? Well, just like you do anything, slow, intentional, repetition over and over again, because they have to understand that you're contrite, that you mean it. It can't be a fuzzy picture. And you have to be consistent. If you're consistent in whatever you do, they'll get it. But don't expect an emotional apology to be enough. That won't be enough, especially if they're between 14 to 17 years old, because they're going through some of their own trauma right now. And you're part of it. You're part of it. That's the one thing that a lot of parents don't realize, is that a lot of kids, you may not recognize it, but the fact that they're growing up in this age, in this time of hatred and brutality, and not even police brutality, but brutality at home, and that can be verbal brutality, physical brutality. They have their own trauma, and for most parents, we're responsible for it. We will refute that in a minute, because we want to justify whatever we did or whatever we said. And that's never acceptable. But they're going through their own trauma. So they're going to fight back the hardest because you are the source of their trauma.
Mm.
And if you can honestly accept that and understand that you have some part in their trauma, then you also must accept and start rebuilding that relationship with them. Because I'm telling you right now, if you don't repair the relationship with your son, what he will do, most of the time, what they will do is they will find another woman who reminds them of you, and they will repeat whatever's going on in that house.
I agree.
And that's called generational.
I agree. I want to say that I feel I was married before, and my last ex-husband, I think he wanted to be with me because I reminded him of his mother.
Mm.
And you can tell that because the way he would speak to me, and it was more a conversation that he wished he could have with his mom. He was abusive. He was this. He was that. He had mom issues and took it out on me.
Yeah.
I think my point of view is I seen what mommy issues can do, and my goal when raising my kid was like, I don't want my kids to have those mommy issues. And I know what our men, because I feel like my mom, she coddled my brothers a lot. Mm-hmm. And it didn't help their situation. And the women in my family coddled the men in my family so much to the point that it's a detriment. And I never wanted that. Like, they, to this day, feel like I'm too hard on my boys. And I'm like, really? So I think it's from getting advice from other people, other moms who are not successful, from dealing with bad relationships that the moms chose to be in, and the resentment that they hold. I think the relationships could be fixed, but we got to fix ourselves first as parents. It was one time that I know that I was going through a lot of things mentally, and my oldest Sully, I took it out on him a little bit, and I knew that I hurt him, and it made him not trust me. And this is just me being real. And he didn't trust me for a minute. And I had to sit in that filth that I made. And I sat in it, I accepted it. And after I was okay with me, I came to him and I repaired it. And that was my steps that I took.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really important. I'll give you a few pointers that you can practice. And this is going to work on, obviously your children or any relationship that you're in. It's really called just the law of reflection. I think one thing that I'm learning how to do is to reflect on my days, whether that's in the morning or before I go to sleep. Reflection is very, very powerful. Any interaction that I have with people, good or bad, I always ask myself, how could I have done better? See, I want to put the onus on me. Okay. And first thing you want to do is the power of reflection is talking about the power of pausing. Just think about how often do you pause? How often do you just pause to just think and reflect? Because we're so busy going, and reflection turns. What reflection is? Reflection turns into experience. It turns experience into insight. That's all it is. Reflection turns experiences into insight. And everyone needs a time and place to pause. I don't know what that is for you. I know what it is for me. It's typically at night when everybody's asleep and I'm in the basement and my mind is, and I'm just like not doing anything and I'm just sitting in the dark. 15 minutes. I think if you've done that, if you just sat down and not done anything, not watched TV, not be entertained by all this nonsense, just sit in your thoughts. Wow, is that refreshing? It's a moment just to take responsibility for all the things that may not be going right in your life and ask yourself, how can I do better? Mm-hmm. How can I do better? Another thing is pausing with intention expands and it enriches your thinking. When it's time to pause, use eyes. And eyes is the investigation. Pausing is about finding meaning in each experience. It's also about incubation. It's like a crock pot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you put something in a crock pot, you know it's not going to be done in 15 minutes, right? That baby's going to stay in there for a long time. So the incubation period is extremely powerful because it allows experiences and thoughts to grow on their own full potential. And that's what you need. That's what your children need. See, remember, even though you have birthed your children are still feeding from your breast. And you can't give them what you don't have. And I know most people don't have time to reflect because they're constantly trying to fix other people's problems and they haven't fixed their own problems. And what you do is you combine those two worlds together and it's like frustration. And then what we do, we explode on our kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Detonate. Because we're trying to be so much to so many people.
And they're the only people that can't retaliate back on you.
Right. And we know that.
Making your face, but your little kids, they have that sense of respect for you. They're not going to go there.
Right. All right. You're right. But at a certain, typically between 13 to 16 is when those young boys begin to start to think, well, I might be able to get away with challenging her because they get a little bit bigger. Their voice are changing, but their thinking is changing too. I'm tired of her flipping out on me. And that's the worst experience that you can have as a parent, especially a mom, is when your son gets to the point where he feels like he can challenge you. That's when the relationship is going to change.
It's scary.
It is scary.
It's scary because they're big. A lot of African-American boys, my boy, he's 12 years old. He is 5'8", and he's husky. He looks like he plays football. And if I didn't allow my husband to be the man and give him that respect, he would be out of control right now.
Yeah.
He's husky, and I would be afraid.
Well, and another thing that they don't know is your son, but your boys are beautiful spirits, though. No, they're big. They're big guys, but let me say something. Her boys are. They're very, very smart. They're very, very smart, but they got beautiful spirits. And this is what happens though when you raise boys without a man, oftentimes being able to intervene, even if you have a boyfriend. Or even if you have someone that you're dating, there's a time and place where you allow that boyfriend or that man to step in at the appropriate time to check your son. You know that's up to you. That's up to you.
Honestly, when me and my husband first got married, my son was being bad. And it was a choice that he gave me. He looked at me and he said he was going to address him. He looked at me, he was like, you let me do this now, or it's not going to happen. Right. He said, he looked at me, and I made that choice because I married him to be the leader of the household. Yeah. And a lot of women don't understand because we are so afraid to let that control go. If you are with a man that is a good man, that's a good man, and you let him be that man, your household will flourish. And this is what I think we don't understand. Yeah, it's true. Peace be unto you. That's truly what it means. You want peace in your home. Like you can go to work and it can be hell at work or hell in with your other families. But when you come home, that's where your peace should be. That's where your peace should be, but that's also where your children's peace will be. And this is what I'm seeing and what the kids that I'm dealing with in high school. Like for many of them, being at home is not a peaceful place. Imagine that for young people. Being at home is not the place where I want to be because it's not peaceful. Oh, come on. Think about how stressful these kids are. And my question to you parents, are you the reason? Are you the source of your children not having peace at home? Oftentimes, we don't even know because we're so caught up being the parent. Pressing down my DNA is how are we going to do things in this house? And I get it. They all need structure.
But if all you are is a parent to your children, you're missing out on something beautiful. I learned that the hard way. I'm old school. I don't want to hear what you got to say. You do what I tell you what to do. But with my oldest son, I'm realizing that he stopped talking and sharing with me. Okay, when they stop talking and sharing with you, who are they sharing with? Ooh, yeah. Who are they sharing with? See, because as parents, we should be almost everything to our children before they actually take a partnership with other people that they're going to marry.
Yes.
But if they stop talking to us because we're beating them down verbally and threatening them, it's scary because we can't compete. We can't compete with social media. Social media is very powerful. They can talk to anybody from the West Coast to the East Coast to different countries. And everybody don't have good intentions for your son or your daughter. Okay. So let's get right back to it. Those 4 eyes. It's the time to investigate, incubation, illumination, the process of placing value on your experience and performance. And the last one is illustration, the process of expanding your experience into teachable moments. This works. This really works. So I want to make sure you hear this message loud and clear. If you are a single parent, remember, if you are a single parent, you are enough. You are enough. I will say this, you have to grow with your children. You can no longer continue to raise your sons so if you got a 15-year-old boy, you can't continue to raise him during the good times when he was 8 and 10. That's what we're guilty of. Before they had a strong opinion, but before things got bad, we want to raise our 15-year-olds like we did when they were 8 and 10. And they're saying, let me go, Mom, I need more. And you're like, no, won't let them go. And they're fighting you to grow up. I'm 15, but you're loving me like a 10-year-old.
I feel like I'm right now because you see this so much. Like you see this so much in our communities, and I see it so much in my family. And it is to the point that you see another generation of children who are failing emotionally. Yeah. And it hurts. It hurts because I see it. It's crazy how when you pull yourself on the outside and you see it, you see it. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
This is real stuff. This is real stuff, folks. This is real stuff. And it's nothing more painful to see something and feel like you're powerless. See, because I believe that I have a lot of control in my household when it comes to my kids. But to me, that's not enough for me anymore. That's easy to help the kids in my house. I got 5 kids. 2 of them are foster boys, but I want to do more. I want to help kids that are not mine, that don't have my DNA. And I see it every day at the school. I see it now in my program. And the fact that I actually have a position to do something, or at least to speak truth in their life, like to know that you can help, but not to do anything, that's criminal. You got to. You don't need a business or a website. All you need is to step up at the right time. So moms, listen to me. Number 1, you are enough. Regardless of the mistakes that you've made, you are enough. Because you're their mother, you still have the ability to influence them in a good way. But what you have to do, remember, what you have to do is recognize where you are, recognize where your son is, and meet them halfway. That's all you got to do. Meet them halfway. When I say meet them halfway, is you have to go to them. Don't keep saying you come to me, I'm the parent. No, the parent, you go to them because they're in a different place in their life. And they need you to be something more than just a parent. They need you to be a friend. And that sounds crazy because I used to not care about being my kid's friend. And then I started realizing that things change when they just see you as the parent. Because if you're just seen as the parent, in their eyes, they're thinking, oh, they're just there to correct me. And they live their life in so-called in the perfect way. See, when you know how it is, the power of a friend. Sometimes your friends are even closer than your brothers, right?
Yeah. Because
friends, we got a special place for our friend. So think about if your child, number 1, they're always going to see you as the parent, but think about if they saw you as a friend sometimes. Think about how different the relationship would be. Think about the stuff they would be telling you. that, that you wish they would tell you, especially girls,
Mm-hmm.
especially girls. But since we're on the subject of boys, I'm not saying treat your boys like your friend, but I'm simply saying if you're just 100% a mom all the time, you're missing out on something beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what you have to do is you have to continue growing with your boys. Okay. You have to continue growing with them. But remember, there's other women who are doing a great job out there raising their boys. You have to connect with them and give up a little bit of your control. Okay.
That's the
Because
hardest.
the women are doing a good job at it. And if you're lucky enough to have a male figure, whether it's your brother or somebody who's doing something positive, you want them to intercede for you. They don't have to be family. They don't have to be your boyfriend or whatever. If you know a man, I don't care. Listen, and I want you to hear this. If you know a man, I don't care what color he is. If he's doing something positive and he can add value to your son, that's the key.
Mm-hmm. It literally doesn't matter what color, because my husband is white and I don't care who knows it. My husband is white and has raised 2 Black boys, and they are beautiful. I love them so much, and the influence that my husband has placed on them. It does not matter what color. You can't be like a Black man needs to raise a Black man. All of that is foolishness. It needs to stop. It's hindering people from allowing the society to thrive because of color, and it's very annoying.
I think the benefit, the so-called benefit of that statement is all a so-called experience. That's almost as foolish as me saying, a black parent will love you more than a white parent. At the end of the day, what kids need is love. Now, what happens is it's the identity piece that's stronger, because when a Black boy can see a Black man doing X, Y, and Z, he starts to believe, oh, I can do that. But at the very root of it is love. That's all they really need is love. They need somebody to show them the right way. So I agree in that sense. Being able to see somebody like you
that is the truth. That is the truth.
Doing something positive gives you hope that you can do it. But at the end of the day, where most of our young brothers and sisters are, please give me somebody that's doing something positive that will love me. And if it's a Black man, I'll take it. If it's an Arab man or a Chinese man or a white man, kids need love. They need direction and they need leadership. But I get it. To some degree, how we grow up, we identify based on people who look like us.
What about the moms who have an 18-year-old and feel like they ruined their son? Is there a way to come back? Feel like they coddled them too much, or feel like they didn't take care of them enough? Is there a way for redemption for those single moms who may have not did the best job?
Well, because these young men are now transitioning to becoming a so-called man, right? Mm-hmm. And everything that you've done for them, to them, is manifesting into this 18 and 19-year-old, young man. No, because remember, they're still super young. They still can be influenced. They can't be influenced the way they used to be influenced when they were, 8, 10, 15, 16. Okay. That part of their life is over. And I think as parents, we need to recognize that our children, they usually have about 3 to 4 different phases that they go through. Yeah. When they get to 17 or 18, they're on to the second phase of the development. Okay. Now, all you can really do is reference all the other stuff. But if you're trying to use all the stuff back when they were younger to implement into their 18 on up, you're going to fail. Okay. Because they're done and they're past that. I would say if you got 18 young adult children, for many of them, they're in their minds, they're on their way out the door, especially if it's been a lot of pain and abuse. They're on their way out the door, and really your voice is probably, if there's a lot of pain, the last thing they want to hear. Okay. So with that being said, what you have to do is, number one, keep the door open to them being able to always come back home. with boundaries, healthy boundaries. And I would say the second thing that you would have to do is I really still believe that you have to relinquish your power and let go, but still be involved just from a distance. Because the one thing I do know, they always come back home, not come back and physically live home, but they always come back to the roots. Right.
Yeah.
And it's nothing. There's a sure way to regain the trust is when they need you the most. Because when they go out there at 18, 19, they're invincible. They got it all figured out, right? They don't need your help, really. But typically what happens is they get destroyed or hurt in a really bad way. And at some point, they need your advice. They need something from you. That's the most powerful time that you can redeem your relationship with them. It's when they need you. It's when they need you. Not when you need them. It's when they need you. And availability is part of the deal. To be available.
Also, when they come to you and tell them that you hurt me, you did this to me, do not be offensive. Be not defensive. Do not say, well, good, this is my situation. I did hurt you. I am sorry, because guess what? I was hurt too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I can attest to that. I haven't had any of my children do that, but I've had my son tell me, well, what's the purpose of, telling you when you're going to try to, tell me X, Y, and Z. And, obviously as a parent, your defense is I'm the parent or X, Y, and Z. I think sometimes just being quiet is enough. Or what I said is, wow, man, I didn't know you felt that way about me. But you don't have to come back with a jab. Well, I'm the parent or I'm trying to get you. No, because that's what they're talking about.
Like, boy, I raised you. I put my food in you.
Exactly.
I put those Jordans on your feet. No, they're not asking for the material. They're not saying they're hurting because of the Jordans you put on their feet. They're hurting because maybe you was trying to save them from the Jordans and then you missed the basketball game. Yeah. Maybe you were trying to do something. And because I remember when I was working, I literally left 5:30 in the morning. I had to take 3 buses to drop my kids off, 3 buses to get to work, and then another 3 buses to get to where they were being taken care of, 3 buses to get home. My day was done. All I can do was wash them up, feed them, and get ready for the next day. I worked 6 days a week. And then the only day I had off, I had to clean, wash clothes. I had to prepare for the rest of the week. So my relationship with my boys when I was a single mom was strained.
Yeah, I bet. Well, here's 3 things that as we conclude our session, here's 3 things I want to just leave with you. And if you can be honest about these 3 things, I think you'll move in the right direction. So these are exploratory questions that you need to ask yourself. Number 1, what is your biggest asset in your relationship with your family? Mm-hmm. What is your biggest asset? Now, it might be time for you to really, really think. Remember, if your asset is something that you can always give them, that's probably the problem. Mm-hmm. If it's a PlayStation 5 or just always entertaining them, that might be part of the problem. Okay. So ask yourself, what is my biggest asset in the relationships with my family, my son? The second one is this: what is my biggest liability? My biggest liability. And, for those who might not understand that question, is my biggest liability. What is the biggest thing that I contribute that might be hurtful or might be the reason why this relationship is not so great? So that's kind of like putting back the ownership on you. An asset is usually a plus. A liability is usually a minus. So what is your biggest liability in the relationship with your son? Okay. And this is where you don't get to sugarcoat it. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to really understand the liability part that you play in that relationship. And the third thing is this: what is my most worthwhile emotion?
All right, I'm answer mine. What's the first question again? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be honest. Go ahead.
Okay. What is my biggest asset to my children?
My tenacity, I want them to succeed so bad. Like I do any and everything. Like I'm like, you want to do this? All right, well, let's do it.
But when you say you would do any and everything, what do you mean by that?
I will call whoever. I will make sure that they have every opportunity to succeed. I will push them to make sure they get their homework done. I'm a hovering mom. I want to make sure that they're successful, and their success is extraordinarily important to me.
Okay. So if I'm being fair, so because you have kids with different ages, do you understand that the things that you said that you would do needs to be appropriately applied to the 13-year-old, the 18-year-old, the 11-year-old, and even the babies? Because it's not a one size fit all.
No, I'm not perfect at it.
Because okay.
Sometimes I can hyper focus on one kid, and I had to take back, like, oh my goodness, I forgot you had something too. Mm-hmm. And it will be unintentional. But the kid who I feel like is hurting the most, who needs the most, I will focus on them. And I had to like really learn that about myself, that I unintentionally hyper focus on one kid or two kids or something like that. So that's something I work on.
Good. What is your biggest liability with your boys, your children?
My emotional insecurity.
What do you mean by that?
So I had a lot of childhood trauma that I recently addressed. So I would not take it out on them. I would go through a depression, and I would sometimes be withdrawn and not realize it. And I would just wake up from depression like, it's Tuesday? Like, really? Like, like I wouldn't realize that, and it would be a point like they know that mommy is going through something, and they would do what they have to do, and they already know. And I'm like, yo, they already knew that I was going through that. So to me, that was a horrible thing, because they knew that they had to take care of things that they shouldn't have took care of, because I was going through that mental depression.
Right. And that type of and stuff just like that, depending on how old your children, what they can handle, it can put a lot of stress on them, which can ultimately affect the relationship between you two.
Yeah.
So remember, parents, liability. We all got liabilities. Okay. So don't be tripping talking about somebody ain't got no liabilities, because you do. Okay. And the last one, what is your most worthwhile emotion?
Like, what's the best emotion?
Yeah, most worthwhile emotion. The best emotion that can be an asset to your children.
I want to say the love that I have for them, because my love is firm, and at the same time it's wild, because I am so pressed on them being successful, but I know when they need their mommy time.
Okay. And that's experience, pretty much. Instinctively, when it's time to go in intimately and have that mother talk with them, correct?
Yeah.
Well, good. So for those who do catch that, if you can answer those three questions without sugarcoating it, I think it'd be a great way for you to revisit the relationships with your sons. They need those types of conversations. And remember, sometimes you got to go to them. The best lead, sometimes I'm learning this in leadership, regardless of whether you're a boss at work or you're, the boss at home or whatever you do, influence is very, very powerful. Because really that's all leadership is influence.
Yeah.
And you can influence people the right way or the wrong way, right? Mm-hmm. So if you learn how to go to other people, that takes the intimidation factor out of them coming to you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times our kids are intimidated by our position. So learn to go to them. That's called humbling yourself. Okay. So I just want to.
You need to plug your next event in.
Oh yes, absolutely. So, I'm all over the place sometimes. So first of all, what I want to do is in February, what I am doing is, if you're having any issues, if you have a strained relationship with your children, I don't care if they're 10 or they're 22 or 32,
girl or boy,
I'm going to be offering a 4-week coaching program. We're going to meet up on Zoom, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you absolutely the content that you need to restore those relationships with those children or with just people that's important in your life. At the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for the damage that is, in our relationships. And for the most part, we're at fault for it. We're responsible for it. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in a relationship with someone and it's not going well, there's a lot of strain on me because I know if I do the right thing and take responsibility for the relationship, that means I must go first. Mm. By me going first, that means that I'm going to do something that's going to impact them. I'm going to change the environment of our relationships. So moms and dads, brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, if you have a strained relationship with somebody in your family or a friend and it's stressing you out and you're just not in a good place, I promise you, the 4 things that you're going to learn about winning with people will absolutely change your way of thinking, because everything that is happening is because how you think. And that's the most difficult thing to change is people thinking, because we think we know everything, right? Oh, I was hurt, so I might hurt other people, right? Right? They were wrong. It has nothing to do with who was wrong or right. So in February, I haven't really selected a date yet, but I do know in February, I think it's going to be the second week of February, what I'm going to be doing is going to be offering a 4-week training session on restoring the relationship with the people that, that's close to you.
So is it a group or individual?
Yeah, no. This is going to be group, because the power of this group, the power of this session is hearing other people's story.
Okay.
Because and I know when you can hear someone else's story and it's similar to yours, that gives you hope. Oh, wow. And I hate to say it, but there's nothing like another hearing a horrible story worse than yours. You're like, oh, I'm not so bad, right? It's like a crab pulling the crab down. I tell you what, when I hear people going through stuff with their kids, I'll be like, oh, wow. Oh, I feel better now, but it's not really all about that. I want you to hear the power of these stories, but I also want you to hear the redemptive piece to it as well. So it's going to be a group session. We're going to be leaning in. We're going to be talking about the pains and hurts in these relationships, but we're also going to repair them. And let me share this with you. This content is so good. It's so good. If you just give it a chance, and if you really care about the relationships that are broken, give it a chance. And I promise you, and it's hard to make promises because people want to hold you to it. I promise you'll walk away with the spotlight on you. I don't want you to put the spotlight on anybody else. I want you to take full ownership of what's not right in your relationship, and you'll begin to prepare. Okay. And so as we get closer to February, just keep an eye out on the Car's page. She's doing a great job. I'm going to give her more content and more dates. And I want you to prepare your heart for being in this program. I really believe it's time to heal. 2021 is time to heal, but it's also time to be intentional.
Mm-hmm. If you guys have any suggestive, you want to talk to Rich about something, we can do a quick live with him, inbox me, let me know, tell me, okay, well, I really have this concern and I want to talk about it. We can invite you on. We can have this conversation, because if you're going through it, somebody else is going through it. So let's share our stories. Let's start healing together. Yeah. Rich Price, Breakthrough Leadership. You guys, like I said, all 4 of my boys are doing this program. Y'all need to do it. And they're really learning a lot about themselves, like who they are as leaders, who they want to be. Sorry, my phone's ringing. Who they want to be, and it's helping them home and on, because our boys don't have, sometimes our boys don't have guidance, and this is a part of the guidance. You don't have to be your kid's only teacher. No. Let life teach them. Richard can help. Contact us. Go to his Facebook page, like his Facebook page. He is here, and we'll probably do something else. But let me know if you have any other questions or anything, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. You take care of the car. Keep putting in work. Remember, at the end of the day, it starts with one. If we can help one, we've done our job. You know, we got to meet people where they are, and you know, we can bring them the water, but they got to drink from the well. So keep putting in work, keep doing what you're gonna do. It's gonna blow up very fast. So keep up the great work, okay?
All right, you made me cry. I don't believe this.
Yeah, cry. You got to go to the gym. Now you got to go to the gym now.
All right, Rich.
All right, take care.
Too.
All right.
Bye.